Everyone. In today's segment, we're going to be talking about Mexican stereotypes, specifically talking about the stereotype that everyone talks about Mexicans, which is why Mexicans steal jobs. My name is Ariana Martinez.
I am Daniel Solorio.
And I am Raquel Olvera.
I'm Daisy Vega.
I am Gerardo Perez.
So guys, why do you guys think that people say this about Mexicans, and do you guys think it's true?
I believe this is coming from people who are jealous to see Mexicans succeeding in this country, especially when they're becoming managers, when they're becoming doctors, when they're becoming majors, when they're becoming successful people. And that's when they feel that we are stealing their jobs, because no one is claiming that we're stealing jobs from the farms, from the fields.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sadly, this country, it's always like to belittle races, like to talk down on races, from era to era. Right now, it's just our time to get talked down upon. People go and attack the Home Depot workers, but in reality, we're 2/3 of the population here in California. So it's pretty outstanding here in New Mexico. It used to be Mexico, so there's always going to be a lot of Mexicans. We're always going to be here. So instead of, belittling us, talking to us in a certain way, then I feel we should work together. And a lot of people, a lot of immigrants that are talked down upon come as dreamers. So they're 2-3 years old, brought here with their parents, have no choice, no say, and still get treated as if they were the ones that, made the decision to cross the border.
And adding up to what you're saying, I myself, I am a dreamer, and I was brought here, at a very young age. I'm getting an education, so I could say I'm not stealing anybody's jobs. I'm working to get a job.
Yeah, and to add to that, I definitely feel like that whole stereotype is like a fraud, is fake news, fake media, because what I see is that we're kind of forced into these jobs that other people don't really want. Like if you think about it, like anyone could apply to go work at the vineyards and everything, but what I see is that other races and they just don't want to do the job, so we're actually forced into these jobs. And what we do, we get educated like what we're doing right now, and we're able to level up, and from there we reach higher levels. And that's like my thoughts on the question.
Yeah.
And also since other races, other Americans have had an education and have been able to see what their education can take them, they won't take those jobs. However, since people in Mexico have been working since they were like 12, 14 years old, they're used to taking those jobs, and they're used to the hard labor, they're used to the hard work. So that's why they feel like they can go take those jobs, because they're more used to it, and that's why other races would say, well, that's why they're taking their jobs, when in reality we're not. It's just what we're used to.
And I don't know about you guys, but if you let somebody that comes from a different country, has the language barrier, knows nothing of this country, faces difficulties every day, if you let somebody like that steal your job, when on paper you're 10 times more qualified than the person, then there's something to say there. That obviously means, that.
Disqualified.
Yeah.
Disqualified.
Obviously, that person's qualified to do your job, and that just person is better than you.
Mm-hmm.
Since there's always going to be someone better out there.
Yeah.
Very true.
And there's a lot of farmers who are reaching to go to Mexico, to provide just permanent visas for people to come here so they can take all the labor work. How come people are not going for those jobs? How come their farmers are forced to go and just get those, people from Mexico to come over here to work on the fields?
Well, I think, when NAFTA came about, 1994, I believe, North American Free Trade Agreement, it was an agreement between the U.S., Canada, Mexico, basically to eliminate tariffs. And what it did, it just gave opportunity for big companies to basically take over Mexican business. So you have 10 Mexican small businesses, but thanks to that, now you have a big Walmart that comes in and just, completely wipes them out. Their crops are harder to maintain. The U.S. crops grew double in size and cheaper to, send out. And it killed the jobs in Mexico. So if you're killing jobs in a certain place, then what do you expect people to do? Minimum wage in Mexico is like close to nothing. Obviously, they're going to look for something else.
Very
Yeah.
true.
And if we're looking, and if we're obtaining those jobs, it's because no one else is getting those jobs.
Very
And I
true.
mean, since the 1800s, there's always been no such thing as illegal or legal immigrants.
It wasn't until like 1924 or something like that, and at that point we became illegal, and all the border patrols and stuff like that. But this isn't the first time like this stereotype has been like proposed. Like since the 1960s, JFK and President Johnson also promised like to get rid of Mexican workers, to make way for more American workers, and as well as raise the wages. However, through gathered data, they found out that there was no effect in the wages whatsoever. In fact, all that happened was that in replacing the Mexican workers, they just were replaced with machines. So even if the stereotype exists, obviously it didn't work because the wages were still the same and no one was tried to get into those jobs. Everything was just made with machines now.
So pretty much Mexicans were removed from the fields and no one else applied for those jobs, and then pretty much we were just replaced
With
by
machines.
machines.
So bad nobody wanted the jobs to start with. It's just, talking down.
Yeah,
We're not
So-
stealing.
So pretty much it shows also that it doesn't affect whether the legal immigrants are there or are not there, whether there's robots or machines. Is the same thing,
No
so
one's,
no
no one
one's
else is
stealing
going
it.
for those jobs.
Yeah, and specifically like now, since we have a president that talks down upon us Mexicans all the time, and when he started his campaign, as you guys know, Donald Trump, he had said that Mexicans are drug dealers, rapists, murderers, etc. But it's always like that put like more negative feedback towards us, because a lot of like the Americans obviously see that, and coming from our leader, people are going to be like, oh, well, then they're stealing our jobs, why even have them here? And that's why, he says that they're stealing our manufacturing jobs, our money, killing us. But in reality, we're not. We're actually helping, everyone.
And
Like the
besides,
US.
most of the workers that do work there, they're not getting paid the minimum wage, or they're getting paid under the table or something like that. And we still pay those taxes. So it's not like we can go to like those beneficiaries, those programs or anything like that. We're just getting paid the minimum wage.
I'm pretty sure. We see examples every day. We know illegal immigrants. We know people that come from that background. I'm sure all of us have a story we can share. Just try to let people know that we don't come here to steal jobs. Or we're not here to cause crime or anything like that. Do you guys have something you want to share?
Yeah, for example, there's Dr. Alfredo Quiñones. He's one of the top 100 recognized doctors here in the United States. He came here to the United States when he was 19 years old. He knew no English. He started working on this farm outside of Fresno, where he saved his money to start attending school to learn English. Later on, he started going to San Joaquin Delta College, located in Stockton. He graduated with honors, and after that, he obtained his medical degree on Harvard University School, which honors as well. So that really tells us a lot. If he came with knowing no English and he became one of the well-recognized doctor, he's pretty much working hard to obtain that.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's right.
That's very inspiring. I actually have a similar story that is personal to me, because it was actually a family member. We had immigrated from Tijuana, Mexico, and they were also in the Fresno area. And just last year, recently in 2017, my uncle Ray Leon, he was voted as mayor of Huron, California, in the San Joaquin Valley. And they this area is mostly hardworking, low-income farm workers. And what he specializes in the areas of clean energy, youth opportunities, community volunteering policing, economic empowerment for families and small businesses. And the Napa Valley Farm Worker Foundation, which was founded in 1975, has been evolving since 2011. They have actually raised over $3 million to support educational and professional development opportunities. And they actually reached 12,400 farm workers, and they have provided over 1,300 hours of education to Latinos and all races in the Napa, California area.
Wow.
It was actually helping people.
Yeah. I know, like, from my personal experience, like, coming from a family of immigrants, both my grandparents, you know, they came here from Mexico, but they had their permits at the time, so they didn't come here technically illegally. They're not, like, criminals at all. But they came with, like, not knowing the language at all, and but then going into construction, that, like, educated them even more because they didn't have a lot of education when they were in Mexico. And now obviously they're retired, but they made the American dream possible, and I think that shows, like, a lot of Mexicans too, that, you know, we could come from Mexico and make something out of it and make a better life here, and make the American dream come true.
Well, that's crazy. For me, it's not something so, you know, so close, like, for grandparents. It's actually something that I read. I thought it was pretty inspiring, pretty crazy how somebody from an immigrant background like myself just worked his way up. It was about a man named Richard Quinones. He comes from an immigrant background, like I said, went to high school, wasn't really feeling the language barrier, didn't get too far there. He started working as a janitor at a Frito-Lay company, and, you know, just kept working there day to day, doing janitorial. Started coming up with ideas, failing, and then one day he actually grabbed some Cheetos and then put Mexican flavoring in them. And you guys know them today as Hot Cheetos. They'll make all types of brands, and who doesn't love them? You know,
I love them.
Lemon hot Cheetos.
Put lemon on it.
Everything.
Tapatio, you know,
Yeah, they're good.
extra spicy.
That's not just
Make
something
my
for
mouth
Mexicans.
water.
That's,
Yeah.
you know, something for everybody. And he went from basically doing janitorial work to making millions and being in an executive office, you know, and that was all through hard work. He might not have made it the school way, but he made it, you know. Business entrepreneur. If you can apply that to any other business, you know, we could make some great things happen.
Yeah, and it's great to see someone coming from a background like, you know, Mexican, and, like, showing us Latinos proud, making us proud pretty much,
Yes.
and motivating others, young ones too, as well, to succeed here in America. Well, I hope this segment has changed your perspective on Mexican stereotypes, and I hope you guys all know that Mexicans do not steal jobs, they earn their jobs. Thank you so much. Stay tuned next time.
The exponential growth from the program from my first year to my third year now, that's what keeps me coming back and keeps me excited and just, like, fulfills me as a person.
It's so impressive, and we every time we walk in here, you guys are doing something different. It's great. It's great.
Nothing but opportunities here, and we have sports to cover, we have the equipment.
Because the more ambitious you are, the more opportunities you'll have.
On-the-job training is huge.
Get the hands-on experience.
When someone asks who can do it, you know, you can raise your hand and say, I can do it, so.
Joining the class was the best decision I ever made.
Stand by, we're going to go to cut one. And cut one. Cross court to Audrey Jones. Audrey for three! And it's good! With 1.3 seconds left on the game clock, Audrey Jones with one of the biggest shots.
The sky's the limit, really, with what we can do here.